about how to do percents that's less than 1% and greater than 100%. Before we do that, let's review what we know about fraction, decimals, and percent, the equivalencies of it. So in a class of 20 students, 9 students really believe that one day I'm going to quit my teaching job to move to New York City to be with Tyra. What percent and decimal actually believe this fact? All right, someone wrote fiction, but it really is a fact, So 9 out of 20 students really believe this. So what do we remember about percent? Percent means per 100. What is it again? What is percent? Per 100. So we know it's per 100. Percent means per 100. So can you build this up? Can you scale it up from 20 to 100? Yes, you can. By building up by 5. So 45% believe this story. Or 45 hundredths believe this story. So what is the decimal equivalency of 45 hundredths? If you cannot do it in your head, we can divide it. 45 divided by 100. Can 100 go into 45? No. Again, we want to see if we can keep going. So you add a decimal and 0 because you don't want to change its value. Put a decimal point. How many hundreds go in 450? 4 times. So the remainder is 50. I add another 0 to get rid of that remainder. And how many groups of 100 go in 500? 5 times. So the decimal equivalencies, so we have 45%, 0 and 45 hundredths, 45 hundredths, 920. All 4 of these are equivalent. So if 45% actually believe this story, what fraction do not believe this story? So there are 20 students. 9 of them believe it. 20 minus 9 is 11 do not believe it. However, some people may say, wait, if there's 100%, because remember, percent is per 100. If 45 of those believe the story, 100 minus 45, 55% will not believe the story. So more than half, a majority, do not believe my story. He's sad about that. So again, so what do we know? So what is the percent again? Percent is per 100. So from this, we know that 9 out of 20 or 45% or 45 hundredths or 0 and 4500 believe it's true, while 11 20 or 55% or 0 and 5500 do not believe it. So let's tie that into something that is less than 1% or greater than 100%. You're at Katie Mills Mall. You're looking for a Thanksgiving outfit. It is coming. The tax rate in the Houston area is 8.25%. That means for every dollar, you'll be paying 8 cents and a quarter. How do you write it as a fraction, and what is the decimal equivalency of this? Before you say this, because I know someone's going to say, but this is already a decimal. No, this is a percent. I would like to turn it into a decimal without the percent sign. So what do we know about percent again? Percent means per 100. So per 100. It means out of 100. So this is, we have a fraction right here. I would like to turn this into a decimal. So we have 8 and 25 hundredths, which is divided into 100 per 100. So can 100 go in 8? 0 times. Can 100 go in 82? 0 times. Can 100, group of 100 go into 825? 8 times. What are we left with? 25. I would like to get rid of this remainder, so add a 0. You don't have to add in our decimal point. We already have one already. How many groups of 100 go to 250? 2 times. We have 50 left. I want to get rid of the remainder. How many groups of 100 go 500? 5 times. So the decimal equivalency of 8.25% is 0 and 825 10,000ths place. So this is another answer. So 8.25% is the same as saying as a decimal 0 and 825 10,000ths place. Is there another way to rewrite this as a fraction? Because I don't want a decimal in my fraction. I want 2 whole numbers. So let's go back to our decimal. This is 825. And what place value is this in? Tenths place? Hundredths place? Thousandths place? 10,000th place. 825 10,000th place. I think I said that earlier. Hopefully I did. If not, I don't want to redo the whole video, but I'm most certain I said 825 10,000th place. So this is another fraction. However, can you simplify this fraction? All of these are correct so far. So if 8.25% is the same as this 0 and 825 10,000ths and 825 10,000. But can you simplify this if you need to? Yes, I could. I could divide both numbers by 5. I also could divide both numbers by 25. I could break it down by dividing both numbers by 25. How many groups of 25 go on 825? 33. How many groups of 25 go into 10,000? Let's see, 25 goes in 100, 4 times 400. So all of these mean the same thing. So 8.25% can be written as this decimal, it can be written as this fraction, and it can be broken down into this fraction, 33 400ths. Let's try this. So skip. So let's go to our notes. A percent less than 1% equals a number less than 0 and 100ths. Let's go back to our thing. So if it equals less than 1%, this is equal to, less than 1%, it equals a number less than, so this is less than 1%. So that's why our other one was such a very, very, very tiny decimal. However, if there's a percent that's greater than 100%, that is going to be more than one whole. So how do you convert a percent into a decimal? Remember, percent means per 100. So we have 125%. 125 per 100. You have 0 and 6/10. What does percent mean? Per 100. But did you know you can turn this into a decimal by dividing it? So we divide by 100. It's 125 broken into a 100 group. It will be 1.25. That is the decimal equivalency of 125%. And what is the decimal equivalency of 0 and 6/10%? 0 and 6,000. So you might say to yourself, what's the point of turning these type of percents into decimals? When you do taxes, every year I love doing my family's taxes. I'm like the designated guru. Before you had all the TurboTax, where you had to do everything by, now you can do everything with the computers, everything. You had to do everything by hand. In the IRS, they require a lot of things by times percent. If you do capital gains tax or something, you always have to multiply it by a certain percent, like multiply it by 1 point something percent. And then it always says, and it always says, what is the decimal equivalency of it? And it's always in parentheses. So I know one time I was helping my father do the taxes, and as he turned the percent into the wrong decimal, and he was going to owe more taxes. And then luckily I was there to correct him. So let's do some different example. Helium gas accounts for less than 0 and 0.01% of Earth's atmospheric gases. Express this percent as a decimal and or as a mixed number or fraction in simplest form, then interprets its meaning. Luckily we're not doing methane because I think methane is probably a higher percentage. So we have 0 and 100%. So what does percent mean again? Percent mean per 100. So this is so all these are equivalent so far. 0 and 100% is the same as saying 100 over 100. Let's find the decimal of this. Let's divide this. We have 100s. We're going to break it into 100 groups. Guys, remember, why? It's per 100. We're going to break it down per 100. Can 100 go, a group of 100 go in 0? Nope. Can 100 go in this? Nope. Can 100 go into this? No. Let's add another 0 here. Can 100 go in this? No. Let's add another 0. Can 100 go in this? One time. Wow, what a really, really tiny, tiny decimal. So, how would you say this as a fraction? Whoops, didn't have enough 0 there. How would you say this as a fraction? This is 1 What place value is the 1 in? Tens, 100,000, 10,000. So all of these are equivalent. If you find a decimal equivalence of 1 in 10,000, it would be this decimal. If you had to turn this to a percent, it would be this percent. So Kilroy's website business has increased every year for the last 3 years. Express the percent, it increased during the second year as a decimal and as a fraction. So we have the second year. Where's second year? Here it is. Let me use a different color. So we have 115%. That's fine. It's different equivalency. It's decimals form and it's fractional form. So what is percent again? Percent means per 100. So 115 per 100. So we have this. So we have a percent. We have a fraction right there. Let's turn this into a decimal. What is 115 hundredths? So how many groups of 100 go in 115? One time. What do we have left? 15. I would like to get rid of the remainder, so we add a decimal 0, bring it down. How many groups of 100 go 150? One time. We have 50 left over. I want to get rid of that remainder, add another 0. How many groups of 100 go in 500? 5 times. So the decimal equivalency of 115% is 1 and 15 hundredths. So could we turn this into a fraction or mixed number? Is it how many groups of 100 go into 115? 1 and 15 hundredths. Or is it 1 decimal point 15, the same thing as saying 1 and 1500? Could you break down 1 and 1500? Divide both numbers by 5, and you get 1 and 320. So all of these are equivalent. 1 and 320 is the same thing as saying 1 and 1500, which is the same thing as saying 1 and 1500, which is the same thing as saying 115 over 100, which is the same thing as saying 115%. So all of these are equivalent. Let's go to our next screen. Let's go to our next screen. All right, let's try this one. This price of a particular stock company skyrocketed 1,550% in a 1-month period. Wow. Talk about making a lot of money if you had invested this when it was earlier. Express this percent as a decimal and as a mixed number. So let's copy this down. It's 1,550%. So that's the first one. What does percent mean again? It's per 100. So it's 1,550 per 100. So this is a fractional form. Let's turn this into a decimal. We have 1,550. We're going to break it up into 100 groups or per 100. Can 100 go into 155? One time. We have 55 remaining. Bring down to 0. How many groups of 100 go into 550? 5 times. We have 50 remaining. How do you get rid of a remainder? You add a decimal point and 0 because you don't want to change its value inside a dividend. So how many groups of 100 go to 500? 5 times. So the decimal equivalency is 15 and 5 tenths. And is there another way to rewrite this fraction? 15 and 5 tenths could be written as 15 and 5 tenths. This is another what it's equivalent to. And could you break down 15 and 5 tenths? Isn't 5 tenths half? How do you know it's half? Because break down both numbers by 5, divide both numbers by 5, you get 1/2. So 15 and a half is the same thing as saying 15 and 5 tenths, which is the same thing as saying 15 and 5 tenths, which is the same thing as saying 1,550 divided by 100, which is the same thing as saying 1,550%. So what did you have to do it the other way around? Skip. To convert a decimal, so you're given a decimal or a fraction, can you turn it into a percent? So, for example, you have 5 thousandths. So what you do is you multiply by 100. Why? What is the percent again? It's per 100. So you're going to multiply. It's saying how many groups, how many hundreds in it. So 0.005 times 100. If you multiply it, you get 5 tenths percent. So we have 2 and 3/4, 2 and 3/5. So you multiply it by 100. Isn't 2 and 3/5 the same thing, if you can do it in your head, as it does as 2.6 or 2.60? So you multiply it by 100, and you'll get 260%. So that's mean something more than double. It has increased in a lot of different value. It's just increasing, it's multiplying. Many, many multiples. So Johnson expects her new software company to increase its sale next year 2 and 3/4 times their present value. Because a lot of company will increase it. Their goal is to double, be over 100%. That's good. That means it's making much more money than it was supposed to make. So express this increase as a percent. So if they say they're going to make 2 and 3/4 times their thing, what percent is that? Because when you do look at company practice, I think it's practice, look at their little schedules and everything. If a company says they're going to make this, people want to know in the next quarter, at the end of the year, what extra percent will they make? Because that's when the stock value will increase, and that's when investors will put money into the company. So we multiply by 100%. So we multiply by 100%. So what is 2 and 3/4 as a mixed improper fraction? 8 plus 3 is 11/4. And what is 100% as a fractional? 1. So 11 times 100 is 11,000. 4 times 1 is 4. Can you break down 11,000 into 4 groups? What is 11,000 broken into groups of 4? It's 2 times. Remainder is 3. I bring down 0. How many groups of 4 go in 30? 7 times. So we have 2. I bring down 0. How many groups of 4 go into 20? 5 times. And so we have 275%. So I mean the stock has increased 275%. I feel like I did something wrong, but I'm not sure if I did anything wrong here. Let's see, 2, 0, 0. Yeah. Oh, I did do something wrong. 11 times 100 is 1100. Oh, goodness gracious. Why? Because 11 times 1 is 11. It's in the hundreds, so it's 1100. I was wondering why I have so many zeros here. Whoops. Oh, goodness gracious. I erased everything. So let's see. So you have 1100. You're going to break it into 4 groups. So it is, bring it out, yep, 275%. So if a company said it's increasing 2 and 3/4 times, it's also saying it's increasing 275%. So next one, the quality assurance department at a gear company found that there were 3 defective gears for every 500 produced. So 3 out of 500. Express this fraction as a percent. So what is a percent again? It's per 100%. Make it into a percent, it needs to be 100%. So what is 3 500 times 100%? So what do you remember about multiplying fraction? You have a 1 right there. Turn it into a fraction by putting a 1 underneath it. So now it's improper fraction. 3 times 100 is 300. 500 times 1 is 500. So you have 300 over 500. Can you simplify this? This would be, so I divide both numbers by 100. Divide both numbers by 100. You get 3/5. So what is the decimal? Express this as a fraction and as a percent. So we could say it's 3/5%. But could we also turn this into a decimal? I mean, this could be the answer. So its value is 3/5%. But what would this be as a decimal? So, again, you have 3, and you're going to break it into 5 groups. Can 5 go in 3? 0 times. Can 5 go in 30? 6 times. Can 5 go in 0? 0 times. So, another way of saying it is that 0.6%, less than 1% of its product are bad. They are not good. They are defective. So 3 out of 500 times 100% means 3/5% are bad, or 0.6% are bad. So what did we talk about here? What we talked about is how to turn a percent into a decimal and a decimal into a percent. So let's go back to an old screen. For example, if you had 1,550% and they ask you to turn it into a decimal, what is the percent again? It means per 100. So you turn it to per 100, and then you break it down per 100, and then you're able to find the decimal equivalency of it. And then if you are given a decimal or a fraction, and they ask you to turn it into a percent, you multiply by 100%, and then you'll get an answer. So this is how you turn fractions to decimal and decimals to percent. So wait, did I say fractions? Yeah, decimals to percent and percents to fractions and back and forth for anything that's less than 1% and greater than 100%.